Welcome to News 24 Investigations Reporting Notes. I'm Kaya Gogo, joined by my colleague, investigative journalist Jeff Wicks, who's going to take us more into his story about former Ekurhuleni City Manager Imogen Mashazi and her trip, a very expensive trip, 3.5 million rand trip on a private jet and the works to London for shopping. Jeff, thank you for joining us. Just tell us, since the story came out, or what has been the reaction? Have you spoken to the former city manager, and what does she have to say?
So let me just precede with this, Kaya. It's given me great joy to write this story. I've had a lot of fun doing it. And, the city manager's line has been consistent from the time we first started engaging her on this, and that's stop harassing me and threatening us with legal action. And, it's not something that's uncommon in our line of work, as you well know. So these threats don't achieve the chilling effect that I think is intended when they're delivered. She told us that she was going to take action against us under the Harassment Act, and when her attorneys were advised that that would be an abuse of the court process, we've not seen anything further. But I mean, what we've written today is basically just an expounding on this flight. And it's important for many reasons, and primarily because public officials will be held accountable for their conduct while in office.
Yes.
And Mashazi's point of departure is to say, well, I'm no longer a public official, so why are you harassing me? The point is, at the time she embarked on that flight,
You were
the acting, well, not even acting, you were the sitting city manager.
the #1 public official.
Exactly right. And that's the public interest argument behind this story. We need to know as much as we can about this issue, because the secrecy is suspicious.
And let's talk about her compadres on the trip. 2 people in the medical profession. Tell us a bit about who they are and their involvement in this trip.
So we know that Imogen Mashazi and her husband were accompanied by 2 other people on the flight. The first is a Sandton-based ophthalmologist named Dr. Tebogo Maleka, and a woman that we believe is his lover, a pharmacist named Dineo Seletswane. And it's still somewhat unclear exactly the nature of the relationship that this couple has with Imogen Mashazi, save for the fact that they obviously went on the flight. But because everyone in this story is refusing to answer questions, we can't tell for sure. But, in the course of writing the story, or at least following it, you will know, and I think it would benefit our readers and those watching this to know, is that whenever someone closes ranks and protests a bit too much about the secrecy of something, that's suspicious, and then we push harder. And that's exactly what we've done here. We first wrote about the flight and that Imogen Mashazi went on this 3-day shopping flit. Now we're going to tell people exactly who was with her and what the import of their accompaniment is.
And what is the import? To start with Seletswane, for example. You had an interesting trip to a pharmacy, bought a couple of AC200s for good measure. How did that go? And you went there not to harass her, of course, but to give her a right of reply, which is in line with the press code. Whoever you're writing about, you need to afford them a fair opportunity to respond. How did that go?
No, for sure. So, I mean, we knew exactly who was on that flight, and we began to approach them. And some very strange things happened. And, I find it amusing just because it gives you an insight into the panic that takes over when you're faced with questions from a journalist. So I initially approached Dr. Maleka. I left a message at his practice, and he didn't call me back. But what happened was I got a call from Dineo Seletswane, unprompted. And I thought, well, wow, this is so strange. I answered and introduced myself, and she cut the call. And I sent her a message to say, well, you won't believe this, but I actually need to speak to you as well. And it's kismet that you phoned. And then she blocked me on WhatsApp. Wow. So I was forced to go to her pharmacy. And during that exchange, she was very clear with me. Not well pleased to see us, and eventually ejected me from the pharmacy, but said, I'm a private citizen. I don't do business with government. I don't work for the government. And stop harassing me. And it's a very similar line that I'm getting from both Mashazi and the people who are now on the flight with her. And a bit of research which followed revealed that those statements were quite far from the truth.
She does business with
She does business with Ekurhuleni.
What's the nature thereof?
Not only business with the government, but she does business with Ekurhuleni. And that's the high watermark of the story, is that from within a year of embarking on that flight, she bid for and won a lucrative fuel supply contract for Ekurhuleni. And to date, she's been paid 10 million rand.
Wow.
And you know what makes her lie so laughable, saying that she doesn't do business with the state, is that the records we've now obtained show that she was paid nearly 600,000 rand 10 days before she made that denial to us.
Wow.
So obviously when we came into that information, we were forced to go back to her to say, well, now you have serious questions to answer. And we hand-deliver those questions to her in her pharmacy, and she's not answered them. And that's her prerogative.
Sure.
Similar silence from a man we believe is her lover, the good eye surgeon.
Dr. Maleka, yeah.
When we hand-delivered questions to his office, because again, he wouldn't take calls or answer messages, he gave us a very terse response to say that he can't break patient confidentiality because of some sort of medical issue.
Was he going on the London shopping trip to go do eye surgery in London or what?
Well, I have no idea, because as soon as he sent that message, he blocked me on WhatsApp, and he's also refusing to ask more questions. And, you know, again, the secrecy of this is odd. It's not only the secrecy of the fact that none of these individuals are willing to talk to us, because really, if you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. But it's also the secrecy, or the inherent secrecy, that was put in place by Mashazi. And that's the second leg of the story, to say, well, as city manager, she is bound by the legislative prescripts of that municipality. She is an employee just like everyone else, even though she might be the most influential one. And the policies, especially the gift policy of the city of Ekurhuleni, is very clear. You must declare any gift or gratuity you are given, regardless of who gives it to you.
And the threshold is 350 rand.
350 rand. And now, in essence, Mashazi's gift is a 3.5 million rand. Gang stacks. So with that, she is duty bound to declare it. She must fill in a register, and a record must be kept of this.
Was this done?
On her own version, she didn't do that. She said that she was not bound by the prescripts.
Wow.
She didn't have to declare that this gift, it wasn't a gift, it was merely a private social engagement, which, you know, is semantics, but it's wrong. And in essence, she kept it secret, and there was no record of it until we entered the fray. And I think what's important here is that whilst this is a somewhat dated issue, it goes back to 2022 and from her time in office, but because of the public profile she has now at the Madlanga Commission, we will go deep into all of her dealings while she was at the city. And there's a public interest argument behind that. And primarily, we want to know who paid for that flight, because no one gives someone a 3.5 million rand gift and expects nothing in return.
For fun. And lastly, Jeff, and you've sort of preempted the last question, is the Madlanga Commission. You know, Imogen Mashazi has testified at the Madlanga Commission as the top civil servant in the city of Ekurhuleni. And a whole lot of shenanigans have been unearthed, most of which were reported by you. Blue lights for our good friend Kat Matlala, Julius Mkhwanazi, a senior in the EMPD, allegedly allowing all of those things.
And then being protected by Mashazi.
And being protected by Mashazi. Can you give us a summation of her, specifically her involvement? You can touch on Ekurhuleni more broadly, but her involvement and what has come out at the Madlanga Commission in relation to her.
So I mean, you've come close to the target in your précis, but essentially she is accused of shielding Julius Mkhwanazi, who was obviously the facilitator of Vusimuzi Kat Matlala's blue lights and access to the EMPD, and that's directly related to the terms of reference of the commission, because
sorry to cut you, has also received some money from Ekurhuleni.
Yes, so all lines trace back to Ekurhuleni, and they trace back to Ekurhuleni at a time when Imogen Mashazi was city manager. Her probity has been called into question by the commission because of what looks to be the capture of a municipality and protecting those who had cases to answer, specifically Julius Mkhwanazi. So she can mule and be maudlin as much as she wants about us harassing her. We're not going to stop. And primarily, we want to know who paid for this flight, and we will find out.
Who paid for this flight? And that investigative journalism is paid for by your subscriptions. Thank you so much for subscribing to News 24. If you are not yet a subscriber, please go to news24.com, click to subscribe to support independent journalism so Jeff and our colleagues can carry on doing the amazing work. My name is Kaya Koko. This is News 24 Investigations Reporting Notes. Thank you.